All right, so you wanted a deep dive into the colors of the heart. Poems of passion, pain, and joy by Adarsh Rai.
That's right, we are.
And we have, like, the best sources for this.
We do.
We've got excerpts from the book itself, the
Yes.
Amazon sales page,
Mhm.
and we even have some insights straight from Adarsh himself.
Straight from the source.
So, this isn't just like any poetry collection.
It's not.
This book actually won an award, the 21st Century Emily Dickinson Award. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
We'll definitely have to talk about that a little bit later. But first, I think it's interesting how Adarsh, he has like this whole background in talent acquisition.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah, he founded 2 companies.
Yeah, he's been busy.
He's got like this whole mission about helping young talent find their way.
Right.
And then he's also a poet.
Exactly. And that's, I think, where it gets kind of interesting. Like, how do those two things come together?
Yeah, is there a connection?
Yeah, does helping people kind of find their, professional path, does that feed into his poetry, into how he sees people, the human experience?
Yeah, it makes you wonder when he's writing about like emotions and stuff, does that come from his background working with people?
I mean, he's got a lot of insight into, like, what makes people tick? What are people looking for? What are their, sort of inner lives like?
So, okay, let's go all the way back to like the beginning of Adarsh's poetry journey. He actually said it started way back in high school.
Wow.
He said it was like a really private thing for him.
A personal outlet?
Yeah, just a way to process his emotions.
Yeah.
And then like way later, he rediscovered this old diary,
Oh, wow.
which he had actually originally intended for his girlfriend.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then like rediscovering this diary, it kind of rekindled that creative spark in him. And then I thought this was really interesting. He even adopted this like 10 name,
What was it?
the Devil's Horse.
Mm-hmm. That's, wow.
It's like kind of mysterious and dark, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really think of, talent acquisition and the devil's horse in the same sentence. But
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll find out where that came from.
Yeah.
So from, like high school scribblings
Yeah,
to a published collection.
right.
So how did this happen? How did this book come about?
So he participated in this thing called the #TheRightAngle Challenge.
Okay.
And it was a 21-day poetry writing marathon
Wow.
put on by Bookleaf Publishing.
Okay.
And that's actually what led to his book getting published.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So it makes you think like, what would we be able to do
Right.
if we like took on some of these challenges?
But creative things are inside of us, just
Yeah.
waiting to be kind of pushed out.
Yeah, like sometimes you need that push, that deadline.
The motivation,
Yeah.
the external push to get us to do those things.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of potential, like, what are the core themes of this collection? The colors of the heart.
Yeah, even just the title itself kind of makes you think it's about all the different emotions that humans experience, right?
Exactly. The whole range, the spectrum.
Yeah.
Not just the good ones, but the painful ones as well. Passion, loss, even joy.
It's like the full human experience.
Exactly.
And it doesn't like shy away from the darker stuff.
No, it doesn't.
Like there's this line in Lost in the Prelude, which is one of the poems in the collection. It
Right.
says, "The darkness envelops me like a thick fog, a suffocating weight that I cannot escape."
Wow.
Yeah, it's like heavy.
That is a powerful image. You can really feel that weight of darkness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that theme of like navigating darkness, kind of searching for love, searching for light in the midst of the shadows, that comes up a lot in the collection.
Like in Moonswept Heart, he says, "The moon shines bright on the ocean's waves, a tranquil scene that the heart craves. But deep within, a darkness dwells, a void left by one who once cast spells."
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right, so it's like this contrast between the beauty you see, like externally.
The surface.
Yeah, and then the turmoil that's happening inside.
And that makes it so poignant, right? Because, we all have that. We all have that experience where things might look okay on the outside, but internally there's a struggle going on.
Right, exactly. And then here's where it gets like really interesting is the book's dedication. He doesn't dedicate it to like a parent or a mentor or even like a lover.
Oh, interesting. Who's it dedicated to?
It's dedicated to all the unknown people who have had an impact on his life.
That's really unique.
Right, and it really makes you think about like how interconnected we all are.
Yes. It makes you think about all those people that you've encountered, maybe just briefly, but they've left some kind of mark on you.
Right. And you might not even remember them, but they've somehow shaped who you are.
It's like we're all part of this giant tapestry, and each interaction is like a thread that connects us.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us back to that Emily Dickinson Award. I mean, Adarsh won this award over like 50 other writers.
Yeah, and that's for a debut collection. I mean,
Yeah.
how incredible is that?
Super impressive.
It really speaks to the power of his work.
Yeah. And like how much it must resonate with people.
So what is it about his poetry that makes it so compelling?
I'm wondering like what specifically stood out to you?
It's a few things. I mean,
Yeah.
the honesty, the raw honesty, he doesn't shy away from difficult emotions.
Well,
But even when he's talking about, pain or loss, there's still this glimmer of hope, this resilience.
yeah, it's like it reminds you that even when things are hard, we still have that capacity to kind of bounce back.
And the way he weaves together themes of, love, loss, and searching for meaning, it's something we can all connect with on some level.
Right. Like it's so human.
Yeah, it's very universal.
It's something we all go through. And speaking of connecting with it, the book is actually super easy to get a hold of. It's on Amazon
It is.
and it's available in paperback.
Mm-hmm.
And the ebook is coming out soon too.
Oh, perfect.
So, whether you're someone who likes to like curl up with a physical book
Yeah.
or you prefer to read on your device,
Yeah.
there's an option for you.
It's a good one to have on hand, I think, for those moments when you just need to connect with something deeper.
Totally. Yeah. Like when you need a dose of like introspection.
Or just to, kind of explore the nuances of human emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of like digging a little deeper, I kind of want to go back to Adarsh's background in talent acquisition.
Yeah, let's unpack that a bit more.
Like, how do you think all those years of working with people, understanding their motivations, all of that, how do you think that plays into his writing?
Well, I think it gives him a unique perspective. I mean, he's spent years literally understanding what makes people tick.
Right. It's not just theoretical for him.
Exactly. It's like he's had a front row seat to human nature.
Yeah. And so maybe that, like that depth of understanding is what makes his poetry so powerful and relatable.
It's possible.
Right.
And we kind of zoom out a bit, it raises a bigger question, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is the role of art in a world that's so focused on, achievement and success?
Right.
And I think Adarsh's journey kind of shows us that those things aren't mutually exclusive. You can be successful in your career and still have this rich creative life.
Yeah, I love that. It's like you don't have to fit into this one box.
No, you can be multifaceted. You can have multiple passions.
Yeah. And it's inspiring to see someone like, who's achieved success in one area and then like still pursued this other passion.
Yeah. And maybe, Adarsh's story will inspire other people to do the same.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like to kind of unlock their own hidden talents.
To pursue those creative endeavors they've maybe been putting off.
Yeah, totally. It's like a reminder that it's never too late to, to explore new avenues, to kind of tap into your full potential.
And speaking of potential, what about you? What's something you're particularly proud of achieving?
Oh, wow. Putting me on the spot.
Yeah, just take a moment to think about it. What's something you've accomplished that really makes you feel good?
That's a really good question. It's easy to like get so caught up in the day-to-day that you forget to actually acknowledge your own wins.
Exactly. So take a moment. Celebrate those milestones, big or small.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, back to Adarsh's poetry. So we've been talking about the themes of like love and loss, but there's also this like darker, almost mysterious element to his work.
Yes, there is, like a sense of mystery.
It's not just like darkness for darkness's sake. It's like he's using it to represent something deeper.
Yeah, it's like he's using the moon, the ocean, shadows, all of these things to symbolize the parts of ourselves that we don't always want to look at.
Oh,
Yeah, like the hidden depths of the human psyche, the things we might try to avoid or bury.
so it's like he's inviting us to go there, to confront those parts of ourselves.
Yeah, to explore the shadows.
But he does it in this like really artful way.
Right. He uses language to create this atmosphere of mystery and intrigue.
Yeah, and there are these like recurring motifs, these images that keep popping up, and it's like they draw you in and you want to figure out what they mean.
Like a puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just about being dark or mysterious, right? It's also about acknowledging that we're complex, that we all have light and shadow within us.
Right. That's what makes us human.
Exactly. And even when he's dealing with these darker emotions, there's this sense that hope isn't lost.
Yeah, there's always a glimmer of light there.
Like, even in the midst of despair, there's still this possibility of redemption, of finding your way back.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And I think that's what makes it so relatable. Like, life isn't always easy. We all go through difficult
We
times.
do.
But it's how we navigate those challenges that ultimately defines us.
And Adarsh's poetry kind of gives us a roadmap for that navigation.
Yeah, totally. It's like a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles.
Exactly. That there's beauty to be found even in the darkest of places.
And it's not all doom and gloom. There are moments of, like, pure joy and beauty in his work as well.
Yeah, it's like life, right? There's a balance.
Yeah, a full spectrum of emotions. Like,
Exactly.
he's saying, it's okay to feel it all. The good, the bad, the everything.
Yeah, and that's what makes his work so authentic.
Totally. Like, we're complex beings capable of experiencing all these different emotions at any given time.
Right. And what I find really interesting is how he uses the form and structure of his poems to, like, enhance the emotional impact.
Oh, interesting. How so?
So some poems are very free-flowing, like a stream of consciousness,
Okay.
capturing that raw immediacy of thought and feeling.
Yeah.
But then others are very structured, with rhyme and meter.
Oh, cool. So he's playing with different styles.
Yeah, it's like he's choosing the form that best serves the emotion he's trying to convey.
I like that. Like, each poem has its own unique form.
Exactly. It adds so much depth to the collection. And as a reader, you're constantly engaged because you never know what to expect next.
And that willingness to experiment, I think, is really cool. Like, he's not afraid to push boundaries and try new things.
Yeah. He's really exploring the possibilities of language.
So if you had to sum it up, like, why should someone pick up The Colors of the Heart? What do you think they would get out of it?
It's a really unique and personal exploration of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to feel deeply, to contemplate, to really connect with your own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And you might even find some solace and inspiration in recognizing that, these are shared experiences.
Right, that we're not alone in what we're feeling.
Exactly.
So if you're ready to embark on that journey,
Yeah.
The Colors of the Heart is available on Amazon in both paperback and ebook.
Before we go any further, though, I have a thought for you.
Okay.
We've been talking about Adarsh's poems and how they revolve around this idea of searching for love in the midst of darkness.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, if you had to describe your current emotional state using colors, what colors would you choose?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
What shades best represent the landscape of your heart right now?
That's something I'm going to have to think about.
It's something to ponder as you dive into the colors of the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, something else that really struck me about this collection is,
So one thing that really stood out to me about the colors of the heart was the dedication.
oh, yeah,
It's not to, like, a loved one or a mentor, not even like a muse.
right.
It's to all the unknown people who have touched Adarsh's life.
Yeah, that really made me stop and think, like, who are those people for me?
Right.
The people you maybe don't even remember, but who somehow, like, shifted your path.
It's a really powerful thought.
Yeah,
It makes you think about, like, how interconnected we all are.
total.
How even these, like, fleeting encounters
Mhm.
can have a lasting impact on us, shape who we become.
Yeah, and it makes me think about all the stories that we carry, like, within us.
Right.
The ones that are shaped by these, like, seemingly small, insignificant moments.
Yeah.
It's like, what if every interaction is a potential poem,
Oh, wow.
just waiting to be written?
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what Adarsh is doing in this collection, in the colors of the heart,
Yeah.
giving a voice to those, like, unspoken stories, the shared human experiences that connect us all.
Absolutely. And so we've talked about, like, the emotional depth of his poetry, the honesty,
Mhm.
and the way he uses imagery to draw you in. But there's also this, like, element of craft, you
Yes,
know?
definitely.
It's like how he's using language to create a
Yeah.
specific effect.
Yes, there's a real artistry to his work.
Yeah.
It's not just about expressing emotions,
Yay.
He's really playing with form and structure.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, some poems are very free-flowing, like a stream of consciousness, just capturing the raw immediacy of thought and feeling.
Yeah.
But then others are very structured,
Right.
with rhyme and meter.
Oh, wow. So he's, like, switching back and forth.
He is, yeah. He's using different forms to to serve the emotion
Oh, I like that.
that he's trying to convey in that moment.
Yeah.
And it keeps you, as a reader, it keeps you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
You never quite know what to expect when you turn the page.
I noticed that too.
And for someone who's, maybe new to poetry, I think this collection is very accessible.
Yeah, it doesn't feel intimidating at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's really about connecting with those raw emotions, those universal experiences that we all share.
Right.
And there's a vulnerability to his writing
Yeah.
that I think really invites the reader in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're having a conversation with a friend, sharing those, those intimate thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of poetry, right?
It is, yeah.
It can bridge that gap
Yes.
between our inner world and the world outside.
And it creates a space for connection and understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of connection,
Yes.
I think this might be a good time to circle back to Adarsh's background in talent acquisition.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier like how his professional experience might actually inform his writing. I'm
Yes.
curious, could you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. So, Adarsh has been immersed in the world of work for over a decade,
Yeah.
helping people, find their place, find their purpose.
Hmm.
He has to understand what drives people, what their aspirations are, like what makes them tick
So he's not just like observing human nature, he's interacting with it.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of understanding, I think, it really informs his poetry.
Right. It gives it that depth and authenticity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, does his work in talent acquisition influence how he crafts his poems?
Oh, interesting.
Is there a connection between the way he helps people find their path, professional, and the way he kind of guides the reader through the emotional landscape of his poetry?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like maybe it's all about helping people find their way,
Yeah.
whether it's, through the world of work or through the world of emotions.
Right, like navigating those different landscapes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, a common thread that runs through all of Adarsh's work,
Mm-hmm.
this desire to help people navigate life, to find meaning
I love that.
in their experiences.
It's so inspiring.
It is, yeah.
Like it shows that you don't have to like compartmentalize.
Yeah.
You can be a successful professional and a creative artist and, a compassionate human being.
All at the same time. Yeah.
It's really cool.
And maybe Adarsh's story will inspire other people
Yeah.
to like, tap into those different parts of themselves.
Yeah, to not be afraid to pursue their passions.
Yeah. And no matter how unconventional they might seem.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's a good point for our listeners to kind of reflect on. What passions have you been neglecting?
Oh, that's good.
What creative sparks are kind of, lying dormant within you?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to kind of explore those hidden depths.
Yeah, and see what emerges. It's
Exactly.
like we all have these like secret gardens within us.
We do.
Just waiting to bloom.
Waiting for the right conditions.
And speaking of gardens, there's this recurring motif of nature in Adarsh's work
Yeah, there is.
that I found really interesting, and I want to explore that a little bit more. Yeah, so I was thinking about how nature keeps popping up in Adarsh's poems.
Yeah.
Like the moon, the ocean, forests, shadows.
They're like these recurring characters almost.
Right, and they add like this whole other layer of meaning to the poems.
It's like he's using nature as a mirror,
Right.
to reflect like all the complexities of being human.
interesting.
So like the vastness of the ocean, that becomes this metaphor for the depths of our emotion.
Oh, I see, yeah.
The changing phases of the moon, those symbolize like the ups and downs, the cycles of joy and sorrow that we all go through.
Yeah, it's true. Like everybody experiences those things.
do.
And I love how those images like really stick with you.
They do.
Like even after you've finished reading.
Yeah, they evoke this strong sense of atmosphere, emotion.
Totally.
It's not just about like describing a pretty scene.
Well,
It's like he's tapping into something much deeper,
mm-hmm.
something like universal about what it means to be human.
I feel like Moonswept Heart is a good example of that, right?
Definitely.
Where he says, "The moon shines bright on the ocean's waves, a tranquil scene that the heart craves, but deep within a darkness dwells, a void left by one who once cast spells."
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It's so beautiful, but also kind of heartbreaking, right?
It is, yeah.
It's like on the surface you have this beautiful scene, but underneath there's this turmoil.
There's just pain. And I think he's reminding us that, even when things are hard, even when we're going through heartbreak or loss,
Mm.
there's still beauty to be found,
Yeah.
in the world around us.
In those small things.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that's where we can find hope, knowing that, like, nature endures.
It does.
Even when our own lives feel like they're falling apart.
It's like a constant, right?
Yeah, it's comforting.
It
Like,
is,
no
yeah.
matter what we're going through, the sun's gonna rise, the moon's gonna set, the tides are gonna keep coming in and out,
It got
and it
you.
makes you feel like you're part of something bigger.
Something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Something that will continue on even after we're gone.
And I think that's what draws people to nature.
I think so too.
That sense of connection to something that's timeless, enduring.
Yeah, it's grounding.
It's funny, I was thinking about how Adarsh's background in talent acquisition could actually, like, tie into this whole nature theme.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because on the one hand, he's working with people, helping them with their careers.
Yeah, a very human-centered world.
Totally.
But like maybe, just maybe,
Mm-hmm.
there's this like awareness of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like those natural cycles of growth and change that we all go through.
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah.
Like the way things rise and fall,
Mm-hmm.
just like the tides of the ocean.
And maybe his poetry reflects that, this
Mhm.
understanding that, life has both good and bad.
Ups and downs, light and shadow.
Exactly. And that's okay.
It's all part of it.
It's part of the journey.
And I think it's important to remember that,
Totally.
it's not about denying the difficult emotions, but it's about embracing them,
Yeah.
seeing them as part of the full spectrum of what it means to be alive.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the colors of the heart.
It does.
And I think the biggest takeaway from this collection is that, we're not alone in our experiences, like whether it's love, loss, joy, despair.
Those are all universal emotions.
Yeah, they connect us all.
And through his poetry, Adarsh gives us a language for those emotions.
Yeah.
A way to explore our own hearts and find comfort in knowing that, others have felt these things too.
It's like we're all in this together.
We are.
So if you're ready to embark on your own journey of self-discovery, The Colors of the Heart is available on Amazon,
Yes, it is.
both in paperback and as an ebook.
Check it out.
And it will stay with you long after you've finished reading, I promise.
It will.
It'll make you think about your own life, the colors that paint your own emotional landscape.
Your own unique palette.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.